We're
Okay,
streaming.
we are live on Facebook according to Zoom. And I have the lovely Anya Day here, having a uh, beautiful, blessed day. And we'll get into that topic here in a sec. Our topic today is about uh, living our part of God. I'm just trying to see something weird is going on in the description. I'll have to go fix it later, but it doesn't say living our part of God. Um,
I'm not
so
surprised.
just to preface, Patrick hasn't joined us today. There was some very interesting interaction that I don't understand, and a lot of frustration that was brought up and at the last moment. So it's just Anya and I going at the moment. I was pretty triggered, but I'm calming down. I don't know what's going on, and we'll figure it out from here. But that's why Patrick's not joining today. So all love to him, no disrespect. We'll hopefully figure out what's going on. So, um, uh, Anya got to go front row in our chat group just as all this stuff showed up, and it was kind of surreal. So let's begin by saying this. I'm going to let Anya talk about her beautiful experience. She just had a live on. Um, But to preface it and for this all to make sense, we have to, as we're ascending, we have to awaken to the possibility that we're infinite beings and bigger than this body that we've been born into, programmed with, told is wrong, bad, ugly, fat, whatever. And we just keep shrinking and shrinking and shrinking, and we forget. So we're born. I don't know if you ever seen and looked into a baby's eyes, and they got that glint, and it's like amazing, and they're like unlimited and beautiful. And we start that journey as soon as we come out of mommy's womb. We start getting programmed with the societal stuff, the parent stuff, the protecting you. Don't touch that. That's not good. You're bad. Shut up. All these kind of things that are all part of our growing up because our parents grew up that same way. And think of it as a lineage thing that just kept
Mm-hmm.
happening. And we've been left with this incrustation. Once we're old enough to get out of the house and leave school and have family, then we start programming our family and our world and our people on all that stuff about what's good and what's right and all this kind of thing. And somewhere early on in the way, we forgot that we were a part of God, and we were part of everyone, and we were part of a collective. And that energy of allness, like human experience, is just one facet of ourselves. And if you really listen to some of the teachings out there, we're living a multiverse. So every possible possibility is being lived out as ourselves, as part of God. So we're having an infinite number of variants of the experience based on every word that we say and how we got programmed. We lost that somewhere along the way. And
Mm-hmm.
how do we get reminded of that? How do we get a beautiful moment that reminds us of that? It it's something we should be welcoming in, and I'm going to hand it off to Anya and her beautiful story, and she had some amazing things happen today.
Yeah, thank you. So I like to do affirmations in the morning just to preface. So my affirmation is something wonderful is going to happen today. And I like to take walks, and I there's this particular park I like to go to because they have swings, so I'll swing and like I'll get the butterflies like you do as a kid, and there's like kids running around, so that's where I like to go, and that's where I was, and I just follow like my intuitive hits. So it was like, oh, go sit on the grass. And I was like, okay, I'll sit on the grass. And I was like, let me meditate. And I don't know how long I was sitting there. Like a part of me was like, you should start walking again. But I was like, no, I'm just going to sit here. I've had a lot on my mind, some things I was grappling with. So I just wanted to connect. And I was just minding my own business. And this woman, she interrupts me and she was like, excuse me, are you okay? I just wanted to check on you to see how you're doing. And I was just like, whoa, yeah, I'm great. I'm just meditating, but thank you so much for checking on me. Like, I really appreciate that. Like, who does that? And she was like, oh, I didn't mean to interrupt your meditation. I was like, no, not at all. And she offered to sit down with me to pray and to have a prayer. And I was like, oh my God, yeah, I would love that. Like, please sit. And she sat down, and just as she was about to begin, there was um, a grounds worker. He was getting ready to cut the grass, and he was like, "You guys, can you get up? Like, I need to cut this grass." And we just like both laughed, and we're like, "Okay." And so we went to the other side of the park. There was another patch of grass there, and then she started praying, and she included me in her prayer. We introduced each other. Her name was Gel, like hair gel. That was what she said. She was from the Philippines, and she started praying, and in part of her prayer she blessed me, and like my soul was just feeling so much warmth and compassion during the little prayer, and it was so grounding and so present felt. And after the prayer, we open our eyes, and there's bubbles being blown, like those huge little machines like this mom brought, and they were just like hitting us. And we were just like, this is so awesome.
Beautiful.
And we just started talking, just sharing stories, and just talking about God. And she just gave me all of these messages that I just needed to hear. And because sometimes you just forget, you know it's there. It's kind of seeps into the background of things, but she just brought it to the foreground. It was just such a powerful reminder of just like this beautiful part of God that we are all in, and just that God is always with you, and God loves you, and like if anyone else leaves you, God is always there. He's always listening. He's like this supercomputer. He receives all your prayers, and just like all these other messages she said. And she was saying how like we're on God's timeline. We're not on our timeline. We're on God's timeline.
Mhm.
And I just was able to kind of I don't know how to describe it, but my soul was just lifting so much around her that I was just able to step outside of myself, and just this peacefulness just swept all through me. And I told her that, and she felt it too, and she was like, you kind of feel like you're high." And I was like, exactly. And like I just had this peacefulness just wash everything away. All of the worries that I had were just gone, and I just felt like I could tell her anything, and I did. And another thing she said that I forgot to share in the live was about repenting. And she's like, "Yeah, I repented before in the past, but I realized that you could repent. It takes more than one time to repent." And that was powerful as well. And just also the importance of
Mhm.
letting go of the past, letting go of these old programs of fear, whatever, what have you, but just letting go of the past, and just knowing that God is always there with you. And she said how she thought she had, once she had thought she figured something out, there was just like this new level of introduction where she's like realizing that she didn't have anything figured out. So it's just like this constant, like, search, and like, just being a part of God, and just like the more you tune in, like the louder it gets, and the more connected you are to it. And forgot what else she said, but it was just like everything I needed to hear. And it was just so beautiful just to think that like two strangers, quote unquote, could just come together
Mhm.
and just pray on the grass and talk about God,
Mhm.
and like just feel like you soulfully know each other, even though like you just knew each other's name like 5 minutes ago.
Mhm. You
um
called her in.
I
You
did.
made the choice. That was
I
yours.
Yeah, I did. I needed a blessing. And this is what I wanted to say. We were talking about power, and how once we're on our journey, how much power we can acquire, how much godlike power we can acquire. But it takes time, and there's like this beautiful sacrifice that we have to do, cutting old things off to just really connect to this God thing. And
Mhm.
um and that it's scary once you finally see the power that you actually hold, that you're actually blessed with, how scary it is. Like it could be so like, oh my god, like I didn't know it was that powerful, but like
Mhm.
just like, releasing that fear. So that was just the gist of it. And then we
Mhm.
parted ways and I started fucking crying like a little baby on my walk home. And like I just, it was so beautiful. I just felt this tingle and just
Mhm.
notice things that I wouldn't normally notice, and this connectedness. And I was just looking up at the sky and crying. It was beautiful.
And you mentioned something that's probably important to explore, but if it's too
Hmm.
personal, tell me. But what's the parts of you that are too powerful, that are God, that you're scared to open to? What did you see in that moment?
What are the parts? Just knowing that you have a big role to fill, but being afraid to step into those shoes because you don't want the ego to lead the way.
Hmm.
And that's what I've been struggling with is I've done so much work on myself, and when I start seeing the fruit of my labor come up,
Hmm.
I also start seeing my ego come up too. And so
Or
it's
is that
just,
actually your ego anymore?
I don't know what it is, but it
It's your
takes
power.
me. Yeah.
It feels
Yeah,
like ego. It's your power. It's your
that's true.
strength. It's you like standing on the mountaintop and planting that flag on Everest and saying, I fucking got here. I did every little bit of it. You're entitled now to say, I got
Yeah.
to the top of Everest. That's the title that they put behind their name, Sir Edmund
Mhm.
Hillary and those. And it's different than the old ego. The old ego is, I got it all figured out. You guys got to chase me and blah, blah, blah. That's ego. Or I see things in you that make you lesser than me. I don't hear any of that coming from you.
I
It's like,
I
I
think
want this. Go
I
ahead.
want this, but it's a fear of, if I have it, am I going to disconnect from God? Because I felt like I could disconnect from God.
Absolutely.
And that's where my fear is.
Mhm. So can we examine that a little bit?
Sure.
So you'll see it. I see it in a lot of healers that got a whole bunch of stuff figured out. And now they're $1,000 an hour, and they're, oh, I got a PhD in this, and I got all this. And I listened to a guy last night. It was all about sexuality, and they spent 5 minutes explaining their credentials. I want to know what you're going to say and have a touch on my heart. I could care less if you went to Harvard Business School or this sex school or whatever. That's the ego. That's the new
Yeah.
connected to God 5D, I'm rising above the old.
Mhm.
And the stuff you're going to do isn't going to be around, I'm going to be a millionaire and I got to have the big house and all this kind of shit. If that comes as part of it, you're going to be laughing. And that's probably the first thing that you'll do. You're starting from humble roots because you need to start there. But if you were worried about it, you would have found a way to scramble in Boston and sacrifice your, or New York and sacrificed your spirituality. But you said, no, I got to choose me for a while. Did an ego
Yeah.
choose that?
The ego did not choose that, but it was running. I had to, with the assistance of certain things, finally choose myself over the ego running the show. And I muted it for so long, but to finally have these things that I desire come up, it kind of brings up the ego as well. Like, oh yeah, like all right, like we got a taste of this. Someone's validating me. Oh
But you deserve that healthy part, not the
yes,
out of control, the duality ego that's keeping you in fear. You've
yes.
won against that ego. And I welcome people on the live to come and say, I've never heard anything that I've ever felt as ego from you, Anya. And I worry about the same things.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like it's ego that I'm trying to set up a community. It's an ego that I'm
Mm.
driving and leading these calls, but I also feel I took the risk to step forward into it and welcome
Mm-hmm.
people into my life, and beautiful people showed up that are really heart centered and spoke. So I've stepped away from that. And now it's like the next step is like, okay, now I got to build this community and I want people to be in it, but not because I want to make a whole bunch of money. I want
Right.
people to see some light and some truth and be surrounded by other people that can do that. And there's no fee to get into that. If we're going to do advanced stuff or you got to use my facilities or whatever, then okay, I'm going to have to charge for some stuff because it costs me money to do it.
Mm-hmm.
That's of service. And I think what we really need to get to at the bottom of this is, are you doing it from ego or are you doing it from of service? And the real killer that punches you in the gut is how many people are losing out because you're not choosing to be of service because you're afraid that they might see you in that way. And if they see you in that way, that's their choice. You didn't do it because if you're doing it from service, there's never ego in it. In the old way of helping, of building your brand and all these kind of things, there's an ego tied to who this person is or the title that's been chosen. But I'm not living your light. I'm building something called Living Your Light that allows some of the concepts and people take it or leave it. Come in, give me new ideas. Let's make it into something different. This was my experience. And even these, it's new perspectives on reality. It's not, you better fucking listen to this and this is the only way to go. It's like, holy frick, why am I thinking that way? Why did I do that? Why did I? And then they get something from it without, we never force anything, I don't think, on anybody. It's like, this is our perspective and this is what got us to a place where we can giggle and laugh about things that are really heavy, divorce and relationships and sex. And you're doing that every day.
Yeah.
So what's your ultimate of service, or is that something you want to share?
I think my ultimate of service is being myself and reminding others of their own power.
And what about leading by example?
Exactly.
So you're doing it and you're vulnerable about it, so people really know the itty gritties of how you're doing it and how it feels. And then you're giving them a choice.
Yeah.
And they see Anya and they say, holy shit, she smiles a lot and she has a lot of beautiful things happen in her life. And I want that.
Yeah.
So then you draw them in. And the more powerful you get and the less kind of like going with the flow or the wind. And I'm not saying going against the flow, because some of the flow that we're in is 3D flow. That's just like some of the stuff you talked about, vaccines and all this other stuff. And you got to stand against it because there's no freaking way that that's going to fit into your 5D reality. And you just start recognizing that, I don't know if people follow Candace Coe, but she's a beautiful lady in Vancouver. She was talking about, what did she say? Are you destructive or distractive, your cellular biology as you grow out? And I looked at it and it's like, there's no way I'm being distractive or whatever. I'm not having little fits and all this kind of, I'm destructive. I'm like, fuck my reality. I got to raise this to the ground. And people may watch me. I don't have to bulldoze their house or their reality. They're going to watch me take that beautiful house or whatever they thought it was, raise it to the ground and build something completely different. And then they're going to look over and say, hey, look at the party going on over there and look at how happy he is and look at how nice the house looks. And they're going to say, holy shit, this is kind of gray and dingy. And what happened? Because I'm being destructive right now. The world has to, I wouldn't say end, but it has to dissolve in the control and the darkness and the untruth and the power over. And that's my reality right now. I'm not fighting the vaccine and we're not having a big long discussion about the medical experts said this and that and this. It's like, I've risen above it. We both risen above it and saying, in my reality, that isn't even a problem or a question. It's like, it's 99.7% people survive. So 0.3%, and I'm going to poison and do all these things, which would just pull my vibration down. And we choose not to. But it's not, fuck you, you're not listening.
Yeah.
Oh, we could be dry in the throat and we could march on Parliament and the Senate and everybody.
Yeah.
Nobody would care. But standing here and saying the world deserves to be better, and I'm right here making an example of better, come with me. We'll ignore that for a while.
Yeah.
And away we go.
I
just found out my kids are going out of school for 2 weeks starting next week because it's so bad in the world. They're got to work from home again. It's like, and then half the world is saying there's nothing going on and there's no masks. So it really, nothing makes sense. It's all control and power.
It's so crazy because it's just, they just they collectively chose, you know what, nothing is going on, so this is a reality that we are all agreeing. It's no different than like a traffic light. Okay, red means stop, green means go. Like we all chose that.
But it's a conditioning. It's like, oh, there's not enough fear anymore. People are rising above, so let's do some things that force fear for the ones. And then eventually the ones that are mostly in fear are going to make a choice and say, geez, this is really stupid. I'd love to get together with a bunch of parents from my kids' school and march to open the school on Monday morning and just say, no freaking way, we're not doing this. You may be getting orders from above. My kids deserve to be in school. So get me a teacher or whatever.
Yeah.
And they freak out sideways.
Yeah. There's so much power in that collective choice making as a community, even like if there's a few numbers, like that's all it takes to get a movement going.
How many people would it take to walk into your health minister's office non-violently, welcome them to come for a walk and check out the statistics and check a couple ICUs out and have a camera and film that and show everybody that there's something funny going on here because none of it adds up. And then they'd be like, I can't, but they just keep pointing upwards. Oh, I got it from here and I got it. And you never find the upwards guy. Anyways,
Never. No, it's fine. That's perfect. No, the thing that messes me up though is seeing little 6-year-old kids mandated to wear masks. That really plays with me.
And they're just jumping around and they're all happy and the mask is halfway on their face, but the teacher's giving them shit because they don't care. The mask barely fits their face.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. So it's coming through and it's getting people to choose.
Yes.
That's not a reality I will ever live in again. Every single day I make a choice, I smile at people and I say no. And it's not beating people up or having arguments with them. It's just like on the bottom of my dental form for my son today, it's like, this is a bunch of bullshit. I don't agree. With big hearts beside it. And whether she read it or not, I don't give a care, but that's my energy to the universe about filling out another freaking form that just covers their ass. So if somebody gets sick, they don't get sued. Sad. So
very.
So, okay. So what you basically said, and I think it's really important for people to kind of comprehend, is we're growing back into our wholeness.
Yep.
And our wholeness has been taken from us because first we've been shamed around simple things like sexuality and other stuff from birth, and don't touch yourself, don't touch your genitals, don't be naked, don't have sex with anybody until you're married. That takes some of our control and our self-pleasure and our self-love away. And then we grow up more and it's like, money doesn't grow on trees. Your abundance, your manifestation capability is all taken from you as well. Because it's like, no, you can't just think it and it shows up, or else you'd be different and that wouldn't be good. But really it is that you experienced it today. You said, I'm going to have a wonderful day and something special is going to happen.
I got a shot of God.
Because you opened the door.
Yeah. But that's like another thing too, is like our society also brainwashes people into thinking that God doesn't even exist, that it's science led. And then, you know, they made such a fuckery out of religion. Of course, like people are gonna like just, whatever, like that's silly, you know, old world. And so like they shut that component out.
Connect to a God that's fire and damnation is gonna sentence them to hell for the rest of their life. I'll tell you right now, we're living in hell right now and we didn't even know it. So
fuck yes, dude. Like it's like we're all in this weird purgatory hell like space, and like we finally realized, oh my God, like I don't want to punish myself anymore. I have a choice. I have a choice. God exists.
And how many beautiful things are happening to you every day? Almost zero, because the whole world, you listen to the news, it's bad and Russia's going to do this and blah, 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 blah. And then everything's not working out and your relationships aren't working out because you don't even healthily know how to interact with your lover or whatever, because the society has fucked you over.
You're on this karmic cycle.
Absolutely.
Really. Yeah. And like, Yeah, like there's demons and shit, but there's also angels too, depending on how you dial yourself in. I've met demons like that; they're
Mhm.
fucking crazy. But I meet angels more because I like increase my vibration.
But we call parts of ourselves demons, like our
Hmm.
anger and our frustration. So really, are demons outside of us, or is that just a manifestation of that part of us that feels dark and evil and bad? And it's a picture from a book or a religion or some horror movie.
Hmm.
And once we start to understand that demons are us, angels are us, the middle people are us, the person that acts like a mouse all the time because they've been beat up all their life, and they're all part of us. And
Yeah.
those are all ranges of experience. So is God to you? What does God feel like to you in your body, in your experience?
Oh my God. No pun intended.
Mhm.
It just feels. I'll go describe it from today. It just felt like this sense of peace flooded all through me, and that there was nothing to even worry about, and that I'm connected to this invisible thing that I can't see with my five senses, but it's constantly there,
Mhm.
loving awareness.
Mhm.
It,
So
yeah,
we use the term sometimes higher self. Is our higher self maybe that part of us that's God?
potentially it could be, yeah.
And here's even bigger. Are your guides, are your angels, are all those things that are coming in to support you just facets of God and
Yes,
yourself that are showing up?
absolutely, yeah.
And then the real mind fuck is we're all part of one another. And we keep talking at this term of collective, and it's so dense and heavy, and we're having this shared experience. We're all fragments of God with a
Mm-hmm.
completely different perspective on what reality is and what the
Mm-hmm.
world is. And we're all somehow having a shared collective experience from our own perspective. That's
Yes.
8 billion different perspectives and hundreds of thousands of choices every day. Can you imagine the multiverse that's just going out from 8 billion fragments of God?
Isn't that crazy? 8 billion stories happening all at once.
Mhm, mhm. And that's only on this planet. We're not even talking about the
Yeah,
universe and the aliens and the whatever, if you believe in them.
totally.
So, isn't it easier in that moment to I wouldn't say understand. That's a really ugly word, but to accept that people are having a bad day and that energy is coming through them, not against us, but for us to learn from,
Yeah.
like kind of what happened earlier. And we're sitting in that awareness of some frustration or other things that were projected, and just sitting in it and trying to understand, okay, what belongs to me, what belongs to them. And then you just make a choice. It's like, okay, that belongs to them. And I'm going to have a good rest of my day because I did not feel any of that was mine. And that happens all the time when people are really frustrated and they don't have anybody, or they're alone, or they're not connected to God. They're just looking for that victim place to say that that hurt me, or this was bad, or whatever. And it's not bad. It's like, okay, a hard discussion needed to be had, or some clarification of intention, or other things. But when we just want to close it down and smash the world and be unhappy, nobody wins in that. But clarity is brought. You can't change their mind or their perspective, but you lovingly accept it, look at it to what it is. And I bet you if you're in service to the world, those things less cling to you, those projections, because it's like, I'm doing this for everybody. I'm not doing this to get ahead or to
Yeah.
shame you or to do anything. But sometimes it's a different perspective, and they hate the perspective so much that you have to lash out at the perspective so that theirs can continue to exist.
Yeah.
Because it's not meant to invalidate, but it's meant to gain new perspective. And that's all we're doing here every day when we talk. I see
Yeah.
it this way. Anya sees it that way. Patrick saw it that way. One might align with you, one might not, or it might make you fucking angry. And it's like, I'm never listening to those guys again. And then 2 weeks later, it's like, oh shit, yeah, that makes some sense now. But that's what I'm here to do, is maybe trigger some people. I just go for my honesty and truth. I try as little as possible to project, but it's always a fear that I am. So I always have to double check myself when I'm doing that. And I think I got pretty good at it. So I've sat triggered as all hell here a couple times now, and I can still laugh, and I can still have a clear perspective, and I can calm down. And it's not like, what the fuck? Why is the world doing this to me or whatever? Because here's a beautiful kind of follow on to what you were talking about, God. So I drove into the city. It's about 20 minutes each way. And as my son and I were driving into the city, there was all those stupid idiots driving and careless and all this kind of shit. And partway through, about a third of the way in, I started to realize that I was expecting them, so they came.
Yep.
So it's part of my manifestation, part of my understanding, and I had to get past that, because I have no idea what kind of day they're having, or how awful it is, or how many accidents they've had, or how careful they got to be. And it gave me some of that peace back, like you said. I just kind of calmed down, and people started doing it, and it's like, oh, you can't drive so slow in this area, and you just want to, like, that road rage goes, and you want to run them off the road or whatever because they're idiots. And it's just like, I can't control any of that. And it's just like, okay, I'm driving slow. I'm getting in the lane. I'm prepping for it in advance, so it minimizes the impact on me. But the universe was kept bringing it to me. My universe, my God, my whatever is just giving me examples to say that that's exactly it, because that's what I'm creating.
Yeah. It's, I heard this interview where it's like, let's say, oh, today sucks. And what your God mind will say is yes. Oh, this didn't happen to me. And then your God mind is like, yes. So it keeps just saying yes. Yes. So it's just like literally every intricate thought that you have, it's a yes. You want more of that? Okay, no problem. There's no bias. Whatever you want. Yes. The fucking traffic. Yes.
So scary is, what is COVID and all that now? It's scary because it's a truth, and I'm stuck under this injustice, and I'm stuck with this government and all these people. So that's what I'm trying to say by rising above it and saying it's not part of my reality anymore. I don't want to talk about it other than there's something wrong and I'm not aligning with it. But to expect Trump to fix it or some magic or whatever, they sure seem to be dragging their ass. This has taken a long time. So I'm not waiting for saviors anymore. In my world, COVID is done.
Yes.
99.7% survival rate trumps everything. And no matter what person is doing it, enough statistics are out there now to say that that's not a pandemic in any way, shape, or form.
No, it's a plandemic.
You want to talk the funniest one? I heard yesterday some doctors were talking about Alberta here, and they said the average age that you live to in Alberta, my province, was 87, and the average age of death of COVID people was actually 88. So you could take that statistic and say you actually live longer with COVID.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, there's statistics out there that are saying like there's been less deaths in 2020 compared to other
2019 over 2020, yes. But the statistics haven't come out on the suicides and the overdoses and all that kind of stuff, because nobody's reporting those. They don't report them the same way. And it's actually 10 times what the actual COVID deaths were in all the young age groups where nobody's dying, because most of the people are dying in the 80s where they do die and they have comorbidities and they have 3 different heart diseases and COPDs and other things.
Yeah, there's more susceptibility, and that makes sense. Like that's with anything. That's with the common flu, influenza, whatever.
That's what is being reported as COVID deaths is our standard flu and death rate of every year. There's maybe a few, 1 or 2 that are happening just because of it, but all of the people that get sick get sent home. Unless you get really, really bad from the hospital, they don't go into the hospital anymore. They send you home, just like when you have the flu.
Yeah.
So if that was so rampant, wouldn't they be scared that you drove home past somebody and you were already sick, so you should have been in a ICU or a closed space? They're not doing that. It makes no sense. So anyways, go ahead.
Well, just to finish on that, I got to talk to 3 of my good friends yesterday, all throughout the day, which was such a delight because that rarely happens. But the last one I spoke to, she just got her shot on Monday, and
Hmm.
she didn't even realize what she said because she was feeling anxiety for whatever reason. But she was like, "Yeah," and she's not tapped in really. She's still dwelling in the programs, but she was saying something so profound she didn't even realize it. She was like, "Yeah, it feels like my body and mind have gotten disconnected since I gotten this thing." And I was like,
Wow.
"Oh, really?
She said that
Interesting."
straight
She
out.
said that. She's not even on this kind of wave that we're on.
Okay.
And I just thought that was so fascinating to hear.
Mm-hmm. Well, and did you want to share about what your friend said about going on their trip or whatever?
Yeah,
Because
sure.
that's the same stuff. We'll finish off the COVID discussion there, but
So I have been feeling called to go for a quick visit to back east, and I got really high and bought my ticket. I don't even know how I did it, but I did. And I told my friend, and she was like, "Oh, well, do you want to stay with me?" And I was like, "Yeah, that would be really nice." And she's like, "Okay, well, I have 2 other roommates, and if you could get your vaccine before you arrive here, that would just make everyone feel really safe."
mhm,
And so she just kept insisting upon me getting vaccinated before I arrived to stay with her. And
mhm,
I was like, I'm not in a rush to get anything.
mhm,
And I was just biting my tongue a little bit because I'm not even trying to argue with anyone. Like I just don't care. I just don't want to talk about it. Like let's
mhm,
just have fun.
mhm,
But just hearing this insanity of, and it's been a year and people are still fearful,
mhm.
but it's already been a year. Like the unknown is already over. Like that happened in 20 beginning 2020, whatever. But like people are still so clung to that fear and like so worried that they're gonna get other people sick, their parents, whatever. But she pretty much told me that I can only stay with her if I get vaccinated.
Very cool.
Very cool. This is the world that
But
we live
it did
in.
not compute for you because a vaccine isn't part of your reality. So now all of a sudden you can't proceed in that way, which would be nice because you could get a free room and spend some
I
time with
know.
friends. Uh, so now instead you got to pay for a hotel or you got to find somebody else that's more forgiving.
It was funny. It's like, damn, I wish I didn't burn those bridges with those guys I used to know. I could be staying with a cute guy.
Exactly. Well,
But
you
it
never
is what
know.
it is. You never know. It is what it
Maybe they
is.
like to get burned bridges and make up again or whatever.
Yeah,
You
yeah,
know,
yeah, yeah, yeah. We'll rebuild the bridge for a few days.
see what happens.
Yeah.
Cool. But look at your reality. So get that manifesting hat on and say, hey, I'm going to get a free place to live down there. And it
Yeah.
doesn't require that. And because that's your new reality.
Yes. That's why I was like, I'm not even gonna try to get an Airbnb. I'm just gonna let shit happen. I don't know if that's careless, but whatever.
Me too. I'm supposed to be going to Sedona at the end of the May.
Yeah.
And you would not believe the procedures. I got to get like 3 days of hotel rooms and PCR tests 2 days before every flight. And no, but I invested $1,000 in it and I'm
Yeah.
going, but it's all going to be sorted out by then
Mhm. Mhm.
because I won't go through that. I'm not going to get all this stuff happen. I'll blow the money before I'm going to prostitute myself or whatever you want to call it to do all those things. I worked long and hard to get my mind connected to my body, and I don't want
Yeah.
any foreign substance that's not even proved to heal or fix the problem to go. So
Oh man. So after I did the live yesterday, I did yoga for the first time in over a year at a studio, which was amazing. But
yeah.
I saw this sticker that it said something like, if you took a pregnancy vaccine, but there was no certainty that it was fully going to protect you and you had to still wear a condom because there was still a chance that you would get pregnant, would you still take this pregnancy vaccine?
All right.
And it was just poking out this is
Yeah.
the same thing.
Got to wear a mask still because everybody's gonna get it, right?
Yeah. So it's like, what's the point of me going to get this if I still have to wear a mask?
Yeah. I remember when I was a kid, it was like my mother wanted me to take me over to the kids with the mumps and the measles and all this kind of stuff. I got
Yeah.
it. I got my immunity early because if I got it when I was older, I it would hurt my ability to have kids. And
Yeah, the chicken pox thing.
Yeah, that's the way we did viruses back then. Get it, so you're immune to it, and then
Yeah.
you healthier children and healthier life, right?
Yeah. So it's what is it that is really, what is it that people are really afraid of?
The death.
Because exactly.
It's about people are
Exactly.
dying. But if we really look at the way it's worked, the people that are dying are people that were already dying and they've just
Yeah.
been reclassified. There's a few people that were in gray zones in younger age groups that the test said that they had it, but
Hmm.
people died from the flu even in younger age groups. Any kind of sickness has that small percentage chance it's going to take you.
Yeah.
And it's not that I don't want people to die or get sick or whatever, but it's just got way out of control because a whole bunch of hype happened. And now we're
Hmm.
just talking about numbers. We're talking about the number of people that have a sniffle. We're not talking about people that are dying in a hotel bed, but they don't differentiate. It's
Yeah.
the sniffle at home and you're 14 days. When's the last time you had the flu or a cold and you spent 14 days by yourself in your room and couldn't even come out to eat? Like, that's how silly it's got. But people don't see it that way. It's like, oh, this horrible virus and it's going to kill people. But nobody on the news is running the numbers of what the age groups. Yes, old people and old folks' homes that are at higher risk. And yes, we should have some higher security, but don't take their family away. The stuff that the doctors were talking about in Alberta of disgusting things that we're doing to old people, like not allowing them to get out of their bed, not cleaning them when they crap themselves or whatever, because they were afraid that the hurt worker would get sick from this person, and they're falling out of bed, hitting their heads, and because the
Yeah.
workers don't come and help them because it's like no contact, and it's just insanity.
Yeah. Like, let's talk about that, or the fact that these elders are being so abused
Mhm.
emotionally, even.
And who even gets to talk to them? They're in jail now. Their family can't even come in to talk, and these things are all happening, and it's the new normal, and nobody's talking about them. So it's like elder abuse that's quietly hidden behind,
Hmm.
I'm scared of getting sick from you. Well, if they're in their own room, the only person that's going to make them sick is either their family visiting or the healthcare worker who brought it in.
Exactly.
So, but let's leave that topic.
Yeah,
Let's
yeah, yeah, yeah.
get
Let's
back to God.
let's get back
Story
to
that
God.
this is us deframing all the stuff that's left inside of us because we're removing this from our reality. I
It's
would
gone.
never treat a person in any of these forms. And yeah, we're clear of all those energies now. So being part of God, we're part of all those things. So unhappily, maybe we have to accept that we've been part of all the darkness that happened in the world as well.
Yeah.
We're part of the leaders, the Bidens, the Trumps, the Comos, all these people that have good and bad.
Mm-hmm.
We created some of that in one
Mhm.
lifetime or another. We were that horrible robber baron that stole your house and robbed you blind, because we're part of that collective, the whole range. So we can't be just all good or all bad.
Mm-hmm.
There's a range. So now we're sitting in our range. Now, most people sit in this thing that they're not good enough or they're not worthy or whatever. And we crap on ourselves every time we do something wrong. We swore at somebody, or we got really angry, or somebody blew up at us and we just said, fuck off and get out of my life, right? That is us standing up for ourselves in some regards. So we're not actually bad when we have a conflict with another person. I'd say we're out of vibration when we can't have a conversation and the conversation goes to anger and
Mm-hmm.
frustration and projection. But the only bridge between that, like you said, is a good conversation. And that can fix anything, because now the light and the dark, what are the frustrations? Nobody spent this frustration. So now all of a sudden projection happens. So if we start to realize that everything that's happening in our life, good or bad, is either teaching us something, understanding polarity for us, understanding dark, light, good, bad, different perspective, whatever. And that's the stuff of life. And once we understand that that's going to percolate and going to happen no matter what you choose the outcome to be and how quickly you process through it shows how awake you are or enlightened. I'm not saying better in any way. It's just like, I can see the truth underneath this that caused all this, and I'm not going to propagate it anymore. That's being God. going and looking at both sides of the perspective and saying, okay, somebody's hurt, somebody's wounded, somebody's
Mhm.
whatever. It's the emotion that's coming out. It's not this torturous person is trying to kill me or whatever. But the energy, when it's not expressed or it's kept for too long, it comes out as fuck you, man, you're an asshole or you're a whatever. But it's all part of gaining that awareness. Somebody may come into your life and go poke, 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 until you're like, fuck off. Excuse me, I don't want that anymore. But is that your anger speaking, or is that you standing up for yourself, or did you really need to be poked? Because nobody was showing you that little thing. So you said you stepped away from yourself in that bubble while that lady was blessing you, and you looked at it and you saw something very different. She didn't literally poke you, but she basically brought you into yourself, and you got to see this higher version
Yep.
of you from 10,000 feet. And you didn't do bad, and you didn't fail because you're back at home, and you didn't fail because you don't have a boyfriend, and you didn't fail because you don't have a business idea yet or whatever going. You've been processing yourself. You've been bubbling. You've been simmering. You've been letting off the gases, and you got a beautiful, beautiful flash of your
Yeah.
connection to glow.
And I think like I think that's what we're really, yeah, we have to live the human life, but we also have to cultivate the God life as well. And I think the more we tap into the God thing, like the more our blessings are going to be magnified. Like the less we're going to have to worry about anything.
And it's you stepping into your place in the collective. It's not like
Yeah.
Anya's special and she's standing up here or whatever. Anya's one of everyone, but just by her vibration being higher, she's up there. It's not on a pedestal. It's not above you. It's not better than you. It's not any of this kind of stuff. She's just vibrating higher and floating a little higher because she's lighter. And people want that.
I thought about this the other day about, in ancient Egyptian culture where at the end of your life they weigh your soul on a scale with a feather, and like depending if the feather is heavy or where you're which
Yeah,
one is. I
you're
thought
resting.
about that, and
Yeah.
I was like, this applies so much to, I think, to what at least my transformation of how light can my soul become during this journey. Am I lighter than that feather, or am I becoming denser?
Well, you used an interesting word. I wanted to explore it with you because it
Yeah,
goes exactly with that. You used a reckoning. You said, I'm coming to reckoning with myself. And
probably.
you were saying that that's something that you came out from when you were talking to the lady. I
Mm-hmm.
said, so is reckoning something you've done bad? Or was it reckoning? I'm pretty sure it was that. Or was another word. But I said, is it that or is it
Repent.
forgiveness? Repent. There's the word. Repent. So you're repenting for all these things, but is that just self-forgiveness?
It's just self-forgiveness.
Absolutely. So it was
Absolutely.
never about going to God and repenting and making up to all the people you killed or in past lives, maybe, or whatever. It was about forgiving yourself for that experience and the self-judgment.
That part right there. Yeah. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So to get to that feather weighing place, you got a lot of forgiving to do and a lot of what is that weight that's on you right now that you felt go away, other than what you have left to repent.
Is that a question I need to answer? Wait,
Well, you said you felt really light, and you
Yeah.
were comparing it to the feather being weighed when you went, it was Anubis or whatever,
Yeah,
or whatever.
whichever.
And so that weight is just all your self-judgment that would make you fail against the feather test, which is only forgiveness away.
Yes.
And it's not even forgiveness of the person that you did the wrong to or whatever. You got to
No,
forgive
it's
yourself
you.
first,
Yeah.
because a lot of those people have died. Those people are ancestors or grandparents or great grandparents. All you can do is clean up their mess.
Yeah, and it's even just even a forgiveness of those thoughts, those unsavory thoughts.
That you're
What?
small, that you're dirty, that you're bad, that you're shameful.
Yeah.
So I talk about it lots of times. It's like getting back to our innocence and our purity. Because when you say purity, how much does that weigh?
Oh, nothing.
Exactly.
Light.
So what if your sexuality, your relationships, your things with your parents were all in purity?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
easier said than done because there's a whole bunch of words in there and all that kind of stuff, but just purify it. Bing. Because that's all
Yeah.
repentance is, right?
Yeah. And I think we forget that we can forgive ourselves. We can, it, there's like, in the past, there would be like a shame aspect, but after I did it, I would be feeling so free.
Okay. So based on your past, how is the only way you could get forgiven for your sins?
Apologizing.
Or go to church and go to the priest and get a
Yeah.
penance
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
sit in
Yeah.
the thing?
Yeah.
I think I mentioned this before, but sin is actually an archery term. It means off target. My
Interesting.
arrow was in sin, you would say, if you missed the bullseye.
Wow.
So is sin really this heavy thing that's going to take you to hell? Or the carrying of the sin and all the shame that goes with it actually takes you to hell in this world without you ever having to go to a burning world with the devil?
The devil's
Been here for a
here.
while. And look at the things like people hurting each other and people projecting on each other, or child abuse, or all these things is like darkness and evil. And we lived in it.
I want to look up the definition of repent for 1 second. I'll read it out loud.
So when I grew up Catholic, repentance was going to confession and our or forgive me, Father, for I have sinned. My sins are blah 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 blah, and then you got to go and do something to make up for it.
Yeah. Okay, repent. That's a verb. Feel or express sincere regret or remorse about one's wrongdoing or sin.
Forgot to forgive in there because that's a heavy burden. Look at how the language is reprogrammed
Yeah.
active forgiveness into something you carry for the rest of your life.
Yeah.
That
Wow.
doesn't actually say wipe away. It says carry it forever. Doesn't it? To feel remorse and whatever.
Yeah.
It doesn't say to an end or until you're forgiven or no, it says so something that feels so light actually leads you into the toilet.
True.
Wow.
Repent.
And you knew it instantly that repent was forgive of yourself.
Mm-hmm.
And I can tell people on this call that every time I forgive a person in the energetic, when I'm sitting with them in my room, just their spirit, it's the same as saying it in person without all the discomfort.
Yeah.
And how do I say this? And there's all this energy. It just unwinds it. And I'm going to take it even one further and say all the bad experience in your life can be the exact same given up. So it's like, oh, I had a divorce. I can give up the pain and suffering of the divorce and all the societal projection. It means I'm not married to my wife anymore, but it doesn't have this big, heavy, clingy, like I carried around for 10 years and I'm bad because I divorced and I hurt my kids. That's the part that we can forgive, because in my case, divorce was divorce for love, because we were both dying because we couldn't admit the things that were hurting us and couldn't talk about them. So somebody had to walk away, or I would have had a heart attack within probably a year and a half or two. I've seen it, if I would have stayed in my marriage, because I'd given away all my love. And when you have a heart attack, there was no love left in my heart. I was like a dried up prune inside. So is my wife bad, or my ex-wife bad because she did all that? No, she could only be her trauma and didn't want to talk about it, didn't want to share it, so we couldn't work through it. So all I could do was choose to step away. I've learned some things after. I wouldn't have had to leave the house. I could have lived in the basement. I could have done a whole bunch of things, but society says you got to do that.
Yeah.
It's too hard to stay close to them or whatever. But if you just like honor that, hey, we both don't like sex and we're not having a marriage anymore, but this is half my house, I'm living downstairs.
Yeah.
I'm not torturing her. Then we can have meals with our kids. We can have all this stuff.
Yeah.
So look at all these different societal programmings that just make choices that are freeing, that to make them bad, because everybody else in society is terrified of them. My wife's friends were projecting through her that I was going to steal all the money out of the bank account, and I was going to do this, and I was going to do all this kind of stuff. They were living out every one of her fears so that they didn't have to deal with it.
Yeah.
And it was awful from my perspective, and I just had to kind of roll with it and love.
Yeah, I can't imagine like having this group of women,
Hmm?
come against.
It's just their fear projecting.
Absolutely, but it's still scary as fuck.
Well, it's the little girl inside saying, I'm scared shitless that this is going to happen to me. And I want to see it lived out so I can maybe survive it better if it ever does. Like,
Hmm.
it's so codependent and messy.
Yeah.
But
Um,
go ahead.
I was just gonna say, I just got a flashback, like just from the park, just like how we have like our monkey rambling brain.
Mhm.
I That shit wasn't even operating while we were in our circle or whatever.
Mhm.
And I think that was a part of my struggle too, is just like, calming that monkey brain part of us down.
Don't you find it's getting less and less though?
Yeah, a
Because
1000%.
you're right here, right now, and you're fully present with me, and it's not all
Yeah.
over the place. It's talking about what's present right here and right now. So
Yeah.
you're being rather than doing.
Hmm.
And you said just before the lady showed up, you said, "Oh, my mind was saying I should get up and start walking now," and blah 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 blah. And thank God it didn't, or else this beautiful thing wouldn't have happened because a higher part of you said no.
Thank God it didn't.
That's me. But that's you trusting you. Look at
Yes.
that's you knew there was something more to come. And that brain that says you got to get home, you got to do your chores, or you got to make this phone call, or about
Yeah.
that's the monkey brain. That's us chasing.
Yeah, that's the part that scares me, is to have it come back.
No,
Um,
but you just smile and laugh at it.
I know, you're
Give
right.
give it a funny hat and say, "There's Anya with the dunce cap, and she's not quite present yet,
Yeah,
but it's not a dunce cap. It's just the old you pulling you to those old things."
exactly. That's
You-
what I've been feeling. Like I felt the contrast like the past 2 weeks or whatever. I don't know how long it's been, but like, and that's been like a fear. I'm like, oh no.
Okay, so here's a question: is
Okay.
that your ego?
Yes.
Okay, so now we talked about what Anya's becoming, and you're worried that it's ego. How does that feel different than the monkey mind ego?
Oh, it's not different. It's the same.
Okay.
Yeah.
Is it the same? No, no, but when you are being of service, you
Yeah.
don't feel the same.
Yeah. No, no, no.
The ego is trying to say it's me creating it, and if you go that way, which is actually the way you need to go, that it's the very thing that you're trying to fight. So it
Yeah.
wins.
Yeah.
Look at how demented that piece of you is. That's our duality, right?
Yes.
So I think I mentioned it before in the Course of Miracles, they say that we became human by one of us made the mad thought, what if everything wasn't perfect and I was separate from God? And guess what? We got an experience of that. A bunch of us all decided, and then a whole bunch more decided that it must be good. All 8 billion of us all decided to come here.
Trickery. Such
Well,
trickery.
the minute it happened, can you imagine the void you'd be in? You're like this wholeness, and then all of a sudden you're just like, what the fuck just happened, right?
Yeah.
And the ego jumped in, and it had to exist because otherwise you just sublimate back to God. There had to
Yes.
be a sin or a bad thing that you did, and the ego came in and said, "Oh, you made that bad choice to separate from God." Some of it's like original sin, like Adam and Eve eating from the truth tree
Mm-hmm.
or whatever. That's exactly what happened. The ego came in and said, "Okay, you can be bad, and I get to run the show." So now you have this single experience where you're not connected to God all day long. You got a flash of it, and that ego is going to constantly try and keep you away from that, and it didn't win. So you made a major victory,
Mm-hmm.
but we also need to understand, or comprehend is better, that ego is part of a healthy us,
Yes,
because we
absolutely.
got to have drive and we got to get ahead, and we want to contribute and want to be better than what exists. That's not a competition against another person, that's striving for better.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So to be in service, well, how good is an Anya that does 3 patients a week and has a little tiny website, or is an Anya that stands in front of stadiums of 10,000 of people and gives them a true and loving experience, and those 10,000 people get a seed planted in them? Is that an ego? And you got
No.
100 grand for it.
Not at all. That's service.
That service, and that's you shining, and you got rewarded for it because you let the universe pay you. But the value that those people got, those 100,000 people that saw you, and you got $1 each from them, how much value did they get? How much did they go on to make more abundance in their life just because you shared from this purity? Probably
Yeah.
10, 100,000 times fold,
Yeah.
because all of a sudden their life's changing and all of a sudden abundance is coming in. The model that I always used to love is, if you said in front of all those people, it's like, I'm going to share all this with you. It's low cost and all this kind of stuff. Come listen. And if you make a whole bunch of money or things change majorly in your life, all I ask, send me 10% of that. And that 10% will go into helping me do this for other people. Would you ever need to get paid again? And that money would just flow forward. It would be like the most massive pay it forward you've ever had, because you'd only pay a person once some success came, and you'd gladly give 10%, not this pay me $600 today and you'll have abundance in 3 months or whatever. Fuck that. How many times have you gone on those courses and you got hosed every single time? No, the new 5D reality is give lovingly, give from your
Yes.
heart. Okay, I got to pay the stadium cost of my hotel bills or whatever. So it's like $10 a ticket instead of 1,000. And if this gives something out of you, this is my foundation, living your light. Come and put it back. And I guarantee, other than my living expenses and some stuff to have fun with, everything's going to go back to the world.
Yeah.
And would those people love to give that money, and would they want to be part of those things? Absolutely. That's what I stand for. I don't want to get rich off of people by fucking them over or giving them half or whatever. No, come have it. I give it away for free, but I got to feed myself and have a house and my kids and a vehicle.
Yep.
But I don't charge a lot. So it's not like I'm going to be at $1,000 a month fee or whatever. It's like, oh, once I get filled, you just won't be doing more treatments, but then you're traveling around and giving the presentations and shining the light. Can you see that part of yourself?
Yeah.
Okay. Is there any ego in there?
Well, I'm not talking about like those type of things.
Mm-hmm.
It's probably like different pursuits.
Mm-hmm. So what does Anya do for people now? She's support sister to people and that kind of stuff. She's shining her light into individual people that see a perspective similar that you have.
Yeah.
That's pretty beautiful.
Yeah. It's like doing the creative, it's the creative aspect, the creative design aspect. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So do that. And then that people won't take advantage of you, and things that'll come to help you and make you shine. And that's just us getting out of that of service of the old way of pleasing and make everybody happy so that they maybe give something to us. Instead, it's like, this is who I am. This is what I'm valued at. Let's work together and we'll find balance. And then the universe works it out.
Yeah.
That's magic.
True magic.
Because look at all the web designers and IT people and people that have artistic backgrounds and can make logos and make colors all go together and all that kind of shit. That stuff's like foreign to me, but it flows for you.
Yeah. Yeah. It's just using it for the higher purpose and not for the other stuff.
And the higher purpose. So make a statement right here and right now, what you do and what you love to do, and you're going to call the people in by just stating it here.
Okay. I am a creative counselor. I do, which pertains to creativity and helping other people by inspiring them through my authenticity and story. And here to just provide a service of helping people awaken.
Beautiful. And you love to do artistic things, design clothes and art, and you've done logos and just creative stuff like that, right?
Yes.
Or is that old?
It's new and old.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, but do the 5D version of them now, right? It's not a job and it's not chasing people and doing stuff.
No. Yeah. That it's all just let it come to you.
Holy shit, she does clothing. Oh, holy shit, look at some of the art or whatever. Show some of your art or whatever on here. And then those people will just start showing up. I love to, so I'm an IT guy. I'm an engineer
Mm-hmm.
by trade, a computer
Mm-hmm.
engineer, had a professional engineering designation for years until it got too expensive. I can fix anything almost technical. I can help you connect all the pieces of your website together, get you up to a point that you can start your own. I can't do colors and all that kind of stuff because it doesn't interest me at all. And everybody thinks my choices are different. But I got Anya you can talk to, and she loves doing logos. And I've got other people that can glue things together. And then in the meantime, I love deprogramming people sitting here. You see it happen all the time in our discussions on these calls where it's like, why do we think this? Why do we think that? And just having a conversation with a person can pull them through. I had a beautiful conversation with a gentleman. He just showed up on my messenger, and he was deeply in pain. And we had a long discussion about what pain is and what it's indicating in your body and
Mm-hmm.
how you should look at in a new perspective. And after half an hour, it was like, holy cow, okay, now I understand pain. I don't run away from it, and I don't go watch Facebook or a movie when every time I'm in pain. Talk to your body. What's going on? Why does it hurt so bad? What's here? And it's just screaming at you. And he'd never thought to ever talk to his body.
Yeah.
But that your highest good comes through me. It's not like I've got this modality that I've learned and it's specialized or whatever, and I got a certificate. I work with your body and your mind and your spirit. Your higher self literally comes through me, and I just get out of the way and I say shit that sometimes is triggering, but it's exactly what you need to hear, and I just allow it because that's the like before I used to have to figure out, am I doing this right? And did I miss this thing or whatever? Now it's just like whatever comes out of me is exactly what they need. And they come back and they say, holy fuck, that was so truthful. How'd you know that shit? And it's just like, it was your higher self. What do you expect? It's like, it knows everything. Some people think that that's like X-ray vision. You're seeing into them and you're knowing something about them. No, your higher self is only going to let come through me exactly what you need. I could care less about your sex life or your past relationship, but I can see it in people. I can look at people. I can look at people on a Zoom call or whatever, and I can know what their problems are just by their light or their or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Not that I'm there to fix people, but I instantly empathically know what they maybe need to talk about or a hard question that might open them. That's my gift. And that's what I shine to people. And that's what I say here. And this perspective and talking through things, we can reprogram your mind in an hour to a new perspective or open you to awareness of where you're shitting on yourself. Shoulds and coulds are like shitting on yourself. It's like, I should be doing this and I could be doing this, when you're not actually talking in the positive in the present. Right now, I am choosing to do this. So I'll get people to say, instead of say, I'll try, it's like, I choose to have a new partner in my life. I choose to treat myself better. I choose to be worthy. And then all of a sudden your body's like, oh, that's a
Yeah.
juice to work with here now, right? Because it's like you, I choose a good experience today or something powerful. And guess what? It's like, oh, wow, let me surprise you. And it came.
It did. Yeah, it's lots of working on yourself and unblocking to get to that good stuff.
Exactly.
Belief.
Mhm.
Belief.
And just openness and awareness and being open to new perspective.
Mm-hmm.
And that's where that message that came earlier from Patrick, I opened to the perspective, but it was all, I don't know universal truth, so I'm wrong. And I nobody knows anything, honestly. So I'm learning along the way. So I can't participate in some of that stuff. So I said, no, that's yours. So
Yeah, I mean, that it just goes to the conversation that the lady had with me today, where she was like, I thought I knew something, but I knew nothing
mhm.
with
And
the
your
whole God
truth
thing.
changes multi times throughout your life.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And that awareness and that openness to anything new is what will get you everywhere, because you don't know where the lies are in your script. You don't know where your subconscious blocks are.
Mm-hmm.
So the more and more open you are to a new possibility, the more and more you are to purifying yourself, because those are just little stains by accident. Nobody's bad. We all pick them up. You can't not pick them up even in our world. and you're just making new choices. I'm not having a vaccine. I'm not going and staying with people that insist on it or whatever, because they're new choices. But it's just like insane looking at it to say, would I ever even consider that?
No.
So it's
Yeah.
so far from your reality.
Yeah.
And something new will come. But it was like, do you want that? And then you got a choice. Am I going to? Nope.
Nope.
So ultimately, we just need to understand that the part of God that we are all has different programming, all different ideas, stories, experiences, good, bad, evil perspectives. And to really stepping into your God is the release of all that, is what I heard from you. You said you got light and airy and there was nothing bothering you.
It was just peace. Pure, I felt peace.
Mm-hmm.
And it's one thing to think about peace, but another to just feel it.
Mm-hmm.
And it just.
And was there any resistance to vaccines or COVID or anything present in that exact moment?
Nothing. I just felt like
was.
I just felt love. I felt what it was to be connected.
Mm-hmm. And you want to talk really scary? If you drill down far enough in COVID, there's just a bunch of people at the very top levels that have this thing that say they know better than anybody else and everybody else is wrong. And they're trying to love this world in a very twisted, I need to kill half the population or whatever thing.
Yep.
Love, but demented love.
Oh, I think Lori Ladd like painted this picture that we're just in this narcissistic relationship.
I haven't watched that one yet, but yeah.
Yeah, and like we got out of the narcissistic manipulative relationship, but there's other people that are still there. They're still getting brainwashed and manipulated and shamed.
Well, it's like your spouse, and then your whole family still supports your spouse, and you've stepped out, but you're kind of trapped because now you don't have your friends or your family or mother or friends.
That's exactly it. She was just describing like this leadership. It comes off so charming and so good looking, and why would they ever do that to you? Like they've always been great. But they don't know the inner workings. They don't see the inside.
But there's also programming that they're better and they have royal bloodlines and there's something special about them that makes them know better than you. So it's like, okay, you can serve me because I know best that I'm going to keep you safe.
Exactly.
So what's safe? Okay, no rights, no sexuality, no whatever. They've really taken it way too far.
Yeah, it's like, I'll make my own choice, please.
Mm-hmm. But you just love them, see them as that little wounded little child because their parents weren't any better to them than they are to us.
Yeah.
And if you see that little child, then it's like, okay, I love you. This isn't good. So I'm going to just set you in the corner over here. You don't need a spank. You don't need anything, but you don't get to talk to everybody anymore.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden people start to like, what the fuck is going on here? Why can't I have a relationship? Can't have, it goes into all segments of our society, religion, government, societal obligations. It's insane.
Yeah.
So isn't it much softer then? It's not like a hate. It's just a little boy that's got it all fucked up in his mind. And he may be in a 50, 80-year-old body saying that mine's the only way, when really there's so much co-creation to be done, so much play and fun and expansion. All they do is keep taking the money away so that nobody can expand, but the money's still sitting there and it's going to come back to the people at the right time because that wasn't the way. It was all control and slavery. So we going back into God can now see it for this loving, mixed up, shadowy way. And we can say, no more.
Yeah.
And you don't have to go and beat the kid or whatever. You just say, no more. This isn't going to be permitted. And you go stand in the corner and we're going to sort this all out. And they won't like it. They'll have a temper tantrum and they'll try and nuke the earth or whatever thing that they have their button on. But we won't allow it because we're sitting in a higher vibration. We're saying no more. Not a battle, not a fight, not marching and soldiers. No. As of today, this is bullshit. Because here's all the evidence and you can't say no anymore. Goodbye. Because I elected you and these 100 people are saying, or 100,000 people are saying no more and you're gone. And that's the way the system works, but nobody's been told that. We can yank you at any time. What's a coup? Somebody shoots them in the head instead. It's not the way we want to be, but an elected official to represent you that isn't representing you is corrupt, is
Yep.
bad. No more. No more corruption. No more bad. No more people in high places making the choice for me, no matter how wounded they are or dark controls on them. No more. As of this moment, right here and right now, I choose no more.
Yeah.
What do you choose?
I choose me and better.
Mhm. No more COVID. No more lockdowns. No more vaccines. No more bullshit.
I choose
Done.
freedom.
Right here and right now.
Yeah. Yeah, we should do like a affirmation thing for the world next time, like a global thing of just the world that we see happening
Well,
right now.
my affirmation and all I
Yeah.
can control is that the world will step out of COVID and all the control and all the money will be returned to the people appropriately in a way that is loving and gets everybody back into their ability to be free
Yeah, that's
as of right
cool.
here and right now.
Beautiful.
Any energies that are holding up against that are hereby dissolved. They're shone in their full light and they're exposed. And if they continue, the truth will come out and people will not be happy.
Mm-hmm.
So step down and dissolve now, or stand and ride it out to the end. And I can't guarantee their outcome because that's for the lower vibrational people to choose.
Mm-hmm. It's crazy how you could feel like people's vibration. Like the more you climb up on the ladder and you awaken and you just can literally read the energies and you're like, oh, oh.
Mm-hmm. So what would you do with your energy right here and right now to cancel out the stuff that's controlling your world?
I don't know what that means.
Well, so Anya shines. She felt purity of God.
Yeah.
To take a piece of that experience
Mm-hmm.
and then look with compassion on
Mm-hmm.
all the bits of control that are heavy on your body
Mm-hmm.
and shine light into them right here and right now. And it's God's light. It doesn't even have to be your light, and you don't have to have concentrate on it, and just shine it into the world. I invite that for everybody on this call. You're right here and right now. Just close your eyes and shine with all your light, your health, your whatever, and God's, and just shine it into all those dark places and let them be light.
Yeah.
And all these, can you see all the energy? Just like, you see me? What the hell's going on? And they're just not burning like they're in pain, just dissolving because it's shadow. It can't exist in light. And with no fear and with no feeling of victim, it has no power. Just feel that shine out. Our reality. Anybody listening has an opportunity to create the same reality for them right now. Feel that feeling that's coming out of our hearts and our chests. And the world's going to change right here and right now. I choose it. Mine,
Mm-hmm.
right here and right now. COVID is going away in my world.
COVID is
Money,
gone.
money and abundance is coming to me immediately. And all my love and romance and sexuality and pleasure is returning to me now. Because I chose all those things. I was part of it. But I'm worthy now.
Yes. Beautiful.
Any closing?
Yeah, my closing is after everything happened, I again saw a sign. I was driving behind a minivan and the license plate, the external thing said, Jesus loves you.
Woohoo.
So the universe is always communicating with you.
Mm-hmm. Invite him in. Jesus, come on down. You're the next contestant, and Paul is
Pronto.
is glowing. So,
How about you?
I think it's really, really important that everybody take some time today and tune into the experience that Anya had and see it as your own, not taking from her experience, just you've now felt the vibration of what she felt and how that was, and give yourself your own experience of that piece of God inside of you and how that would feel and how sitting in that same circumstance and just see what God's love and the light shining on you feels like that's different from what you are now. And then start to be worthy, choose to be worthy in that moment. Say, I choose to be worthy to have God's light shining in my light every day. And we're not asking for some God that's on a throne up there. This is the God that's a part of all of us, that wants only love and unconditional love for all of us. It's not any of that stylized religious shit. It's source. It's that energy of creation, Father, Mother, God, all those pieces in whatever feels best to you and doesn't feel controlled. Just feel it come into you and say, I accept that part of me again. And then once we accept that part of me, just let it sit in there and just see what shows up.
Mm-hmm.
Don't let the monkey mind in. Just sit there and breathe. See what happens. And then remember it, because it's with you all the time. You were the only ones that shut it off. And it's that heavy blanket of life that Anya felt lift off when she felt transcendent, was all our choices and all the things that said no and we can't have. And those were all by you. You accepted them. Your mother may have told you, the world may have told you, but you accepted them. So choose different now.
Mm-hmm.
You saw how Anya's face lit up and how her energy changed and all that kind of stuff. There's a real person that you know that had that experience, so it's possible for you.
Mm-hmm. Beautiful.
We all are worthy of God, no matter what bad thing we did, no matter what sin, how we hurt other people. Just let that in, because he's begging. She's begging, whoever you want to call it. And it's showing up for people. So I haven't had that one yet. I'm looking forward to it. So that's tonight. So thank you, Anya.
Thank you, Paul.
It was a beautiful share. And we will meet up again on Monday, and we'll see what the universe brings us for our topic and what state our reality is expanded to, because it's getting big fast.
Yeah, for sure.
Thank
All
you
right
very much.
then. Thank
Have a good
you.
one.
You too.
Talk to you soon.
Bye.
Love you all. Bye.